Greetings and salutations. Thank you for joining us. You are at another episode of Embrace Your Storm, and thank you for joining us. We have an awesome episode for you. Before we get to that, though, don't forget to visit embraceyourstorm.com, create an account there. Also, check out the other podcast on there called Soundbite. It's a daily podcast that comes out that gives a reaction to a new metal song. That's fun to listen to. And then is there anything else? No. Oh, yeah. Email me at hello@embraceyourstorm.com. Comments, criticisms, all that fun stuff. And so here we go. Today I have on Julie. She is a singer-songwriter, guitarist, a vocal trainer, and she's also a professor at Berklee.
Yeah.
So Julie, thanks for coming on.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, Jonathan. And we finally got to.
Yeah, my pleasure. Sorry about last week. I don't know what happened, but here we are. And actually the podcast before you actually had on, I don't know if you know him or not, but he's a teacher at Berklee also, Bruce
Oh my
Gertz.
goodness.
Bruce Gertz was on. Yeah.
They keep me pretty busy in the voice department. I don't know everybody, but
yeah, so he was on last episode, so that was a good time. So
okay.
we'll get to hear more about Berklee at some point. So Julie, what got you into singing, playing guitar? Like I think you said before the podcast, you said basically you were singing as soon as you could talk. So
Yeah, I like to make the joke that, I came out of my mother and the doctors, whacked my rear end and I went, la,
exactly.
I mean, that's kind of the way it's been. I've been singing forever. And even as a little preschooler, I was always making up songs. It wasn't until I was 9 and started playing guitar that I had a way to sort of codify them into a product that I could share.
Okay.
And I've been singing my own songs for people since I was 9.
That's funny. Like you're probably like one of those people kind of like, when you see like a video of like Christina Aguilera, or, when she's like 8 or something and you hear her singing, you're like, oh my God. Like, when you hear kids like that and it's like, yeah, you were just born to sing. Like,
They used to have, remember Star Search, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember watching Star Search when I was, I don't know, 8 or something like that. And some girl was on there and she was singing. I was like, I can do that.
Right, you must have been mad when you missed like the American Idol, like you were too, because they have like an age limit or whatever. But
I know, you got to be 30. I'm over that,
Yeah, no, I hear you, but like seeing things like that must have like excited you as a vocalist, being like, oh, I wish I would have had that opportunity 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, but a lot of those things, I hate to say, they're a little bit rigged because
no, I hear you. I hear you.
Like I actually auditioned for The Voice once with a friend of mine, and she's just a kick-butt gospel singer, really talented singer. If you ever get to check out Morgan Joyce, she's really awesome. But she and I both auditioned, and neither of us got in. And I was
really?
Like, "Are you kidding
me?" Even kind of like past the first kind of qualification part, really?
No. So,
no
I kind of think, they're looking for what they're looking for good TV. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
right. Yeah. Even though they're like, no, we don't judge on how you look or whatever. Like how did you get on the show? Because they're judging how you looked.
On the flip side of it, a friend of mine got onto American Idol, and he's a talented guy, but his big thing is that he can ride a unicycle and play a string bass at the same time.
So is that what he did?
And he did. He went on and he played, and he didn't make it past the first round, but it made good TV. So they got him on, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, they put him on like the reels where they showed different people trying out or whatever, like the quick.
Well, he got to get in front of the judges.
Oh, no kidding.
That was American Idol. It wasn't The Voice, but
yeah.
But anyway, it's like they're looking for what they're looking for, But
no, I hear you.
Nothing against anybody who's gotten on. A lot of talented people have gotten on. In fact, on my current album that I'm putting out right now, I have somebody who was just on American Idol. Max Dasher was on this season of American Idol. He's one of my background singers on my album.
That's cool. So, how'd you like get in touch with him, or he got in touch?
Well, this is kind of fun. So I guess we're going to jump right in right now. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Going from age 9 to now. All right. So now, and for those of you who are out there, just to encourage you, now means over 50. Let's just say that, okay? So anyway, I had done basics for an album. But incidentally, I have 4 albums out right now, and
Mm,
I sang on a bunch of other people's albums as well. But the albums I already have out, I did an album in 2006 with an acapella group I used to be the music director for called Faith in Action. It's acapella gospel jazz, and it's out there. You can listen to
that's
it.
cool.
I have an album that was Christian rock for kids. My husband and I used to lead the music for a preteen camp every summer, and we would
Mm,
write a theme song, like some kind of contemporary rock pop kind of theme song for the camp, and then we put an album together for all those songs, and that was called The Force. That came out 2007,
that's
and
cool.
then I came out with an album of my original stuff that I've been longing to put out. Spent years and years trying to get discovered back in the day when the only way to get a record out there was to get a record contract by somebody
Mm,
important, and
mm,
I had a lot of almosts on that track. Warner Brothers almost picked me up.
that's cool.
Uh, Richard Gillinson, who was the producer for ABBA in London, he
Hmm.
invited me to his office in London and all these things, but that ended up not happening. But anyway, so finally I put out an album of my own, incidentally, after I had twins at 40. All right.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
so you think, okay, maybe that bus is,
Yeah,
ship is
yeah,
sailed, right? But no, I had twins, and then I put out my first solo album.
that's
Um,
funny.
and so that was called Grace with Jazz on Top. And that's got some great tunes. Listen to it on Spotify, um, including my biggest hit, the Coffee Song, which
That-
actually was on the charts in Austria. Okay.
That's cool.
uh, Country charts in Austria. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, and then my last complete album that I released was 2013 with my husband and my brothers. Now one of my brothers is a bass player, Chris Gibbons, shout out, and my other
Nice.
brother is a session drummer out in Los Angeles, Gary Gibbons, shout out to you too,
That's
bro.
awesome.
Um, and so
I'm
they
surprised.
probably
I'm surprised you didn't say your brother's name was Billy.
no, no, no. Um, But and my husband, Ralph Kinchek, is a keyboard player, synth guy. If you look up Ralphie Keys, I'm just giving lots of shouts here. Ralphie
Yeah.
Keys, anywhere you like, look for him on Instagram or Spotify or whatever. He's got a bunch of things out. And
Is all your stuff under Julie Kencheck on
yeah,
Spotify and stuff? Okay. Okay.
yeah, Julie Kinchek, and it's Kins Check. If you're trying to find it, Kinscheck.
Pins
You know,
check. Yeah.
so I mean, you pronounce it Kinshek, but just so you spell it right when you're looking
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
it. But anyway, so Ralph was on that album playing keys and engineering in our home studio here in Billerica, Mass. And my brother's on bass and drums. Some good friends of mine, Johnny V on lead guitar, Jim Peterson on lead guitar, different people, Joe Galeota on percussion. But we put that album out, and then, time went by. And now it's 2019, and I haven't put out anything new, right?
Oh man. Yeah.
And we got we got some excitement. We got some press and stuff from Grace with Jazz on Top and Let My Light Shine, but it didn't break through. You know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah. Yeah.
available. I sold it. I made the money back that I put into the albums,
Well, that's good.
but I didn't but it didn't break through to the extent of, like, major exposure, right?
Yeah.
So so in 2019, I'm like, we've got to put another album out. And I think part of the problem is that all my albums were a little bit schizophrenic. Because I am, on the one hand, I'm a Christian artist, just to put that out there,
Hmm.
because my faith is very central to what what I sing and what I write. But honestly, some of it was rock, some of it was jazz, some of it was folk, some of it was, my
Mm.
husband, he comes from more of an electronic kind of really synth focused kind of
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
And I come from more of a folky jazz guitar kind of thing. And somehow we kept creating these albums that were really hard to market because they had so many different styles on them. And if you're one of those people out there that doesn't care what the label is on something, you just want to listen to good music, please look me up, okay?
Mm, mm, mm.
It's really hard to tell. It's hard to tell Pandora who I sound like
No, I
because
hear you.
eh, there's a little bit of Joni Mitchell, and yet there's some Ella Fitzgerald, and don't forget, there's some Joan Jett in there too. I mean, it's all in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, I hear you.
but I'm just rambling. Okay,
No, I like it. I like it.
so 2019, and I'm like, okay, I got to put something new out. My brothers fly in. We do the basics for a new album, which is going to be more focused on the jazzy side of Julie here. I'm also
Okay.
I'm also known as the Queen of Scat because I love to scat sing.
That's cool.
Um, so anyway, we were kind of focusing on that, and we put down the basics for 10 tunes, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh man.
And as you know, the music industry ground to a halt,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and we weren't exactly sure what to do with that project. And my husband at the time got laid off from his job working in the synth department at Berklee because
Oh geez.
colleges were closed, and
Yep, yep.
he started really focusing on his own music as opposed to the stuff we were co-writing.
Okay.
And nothing against him. He deserved to do that. He shouldn't always be my side man. He's a talented songwriter in his own right. And
Yeah.
so he started going after that. And then there just didn't seem to be time to finish this other project. And it was also hard because we couldn't all get together with the musicians because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And, we didn't have all the technology down to do really good remote sessions and everything. And so I started to focus on some other things during that time. Now, I was writing music, yeah, but I was also a voice teacher. I've been a voice teacher and a guitar teacher, actually, but mostly a voice teacher for decades. And I had a private studio here in my house, and I was teaching voice lessons so that I could stay home with my kids. So I would do gigs and I'd teach voice and guitar lessons at home. And I didn't have to go back into teaching in the schools or doing any other kind of outside job. And that was working for us, right? But over that time, I was also a worship leader. Occasionally, I did workshops for churches and stuff. And I said, I really should put together a book that pulled together the curriculum that I've been teaching in these workshops. And so over the pandemic, I wrote a book.
That's cool.
And my book is called Vocal Training for Praise Singers. And it's kind of like an all-in-one. It's available on Amazon and anywhere else you like to get books. But it's basically an all-in-one for people who sing in churches especially, or are Christian artists, because it winds in both the challenges of leading people to God while you're also a performer. And
yeah.
But it also really focuses on vocal health, breath support, your ranges and registers, your resonance, all of those important factors of actually being a singer. But then it goes into these other areas of song leading, and leading a worship team, and scriptures with God putting the singers out in front, and why are we our responsibility as vocalists and our example, and I mean a lot of other stuff. So anyway, so I'm writing this book, and it came out. I am right now in discussion with Roman and Littlefield to so it won't be self-published anymore, and have it get a wider audience. But
That's cool.
So I was focusing on my book and doing some workshops, and then I got invited. Don't you love that when you're invited to teach at Berklee?
That's pretty. That's quite. I wouldn't mind being invited. That's quite the compliment.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Also during the pandemic, I did a master's degree. I forgot that.
Oh, jeez.
I did. I had got a master's.
Oh yeah. By the way, I got my master's.
Yeah, I didn't actually. I wasn't even done with my master's when Berklee called me. It was so crazy. So that was a God thing. That was totally a God thing. So I've been working at Berklee for 3 years as a voice
cool.
professor.
That's cool.
Finished my master's, got my book. Meanwhile, I was on, everybody was on Facebook and on Zoom and, just kind of on the internet
Yeah.
during the pandemic. And I connected through a friend of mine, Rebecca Harold, who's a wonderful pianist, singer, songwriter herself. Um, there was a post with this producer, Neil Merrick Blackwood out of not North, Black Mountain, North Carolina. And so I got in touch with him through her post and we started chatting. And I really wanted to do some kind of project with him. Didn't know if I could swing it. Uh,
Mm.
he he was the head engineer for Arista Records for a bunch of like couple decades
Oh,
in
wow.
Nashville, and he's like worked with everybody from Dolly Parton to Stevie Wonder to the
Oh my
Pentatonic,
goodness. That's
Toby
insane.
Mac. I mean, he knows everybody, and he's worked with them all. And now he's got his own studio up in Black Mountain. Decided to leave the Nashville scene, and we decided, okay, we're gonna do something. And he made it reasonable enough that I could at least attempt it. Excuse me. And I flew down to Black Mountain last October, and we recorded a few songs. And I said, "This is," and we even co-wrote a song called "You Listen to My Prayers." And I said, "You know what? This is great. I feel like we had a really great connection, musically, personally, and I wanted to."
It's awesome when you connect with someone musically, like when you're creating. It is
Mhm,
one of the best things. Like I play guitar and I've been in tons of bands. That's
mhm,
that's probably my most one of my most favorite things about being like in a band or a musician is getting
mm,
that connection, that like musical slash spiritual connection with like a group of people
mm,
and just creating something that didn't exist before with that group of people. I know that's the most exciting thing about me. And you can feel it too. Like if you're not getting along with someone in the band or if like they don't like, I don't know, it's really interesting, like how all that stuff can play out in the music.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to interject that because I totally get what you mean when you're hanging out with someone, just like this was awesome, like like music just kind of flows out of you or whatever. So I totally get that.
Oh, I totally felt like that about the song we co-wrote down there. But "You Listen to My Prayers," and I loved what was starting to happen with the songs that I brought down that were already sort of in progress. I brought some of the stuff from my previous sessions with my brothers um, that we redid, and uh, yeah. So now at this point, I've gone back twice. I went back in
Hmm.
March, and then I came back just recently in July, and we've now put down um, 11 tunes, and one of them is a Christmas single.
That's
uh,
cool.
our sweetest gift. But I'm really excited. It's definitely very much more clear as far as the marketing thing. It is a contemporary Christian, album,
Yep.
with some songs that are better for just listening, and many songs on there that I hope will get picked up by worship teams across the country.
Mm.
Uh, and it's super exciting. Like the people I have on this album, uh, like I said, Max just got off of American Idol. Somebody else just got off a tour with Stevie Wonder.
That's
One of my
cool.
violinists, Jenny Luke. Uh, you know, uh, really excellent people on there. Breaks my heart a little bit that my brothers aren't on this one, and my husband. So this is not a family project, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, but uh, but I think it's going to be really, really fantastic, both musically and spiritually. And so I'm really excited. And I feel like the doors are about to bust open, which, um, we've been talking about major labels, we've been talking about major tours. Um, I'm discussing performing at Soul Fest and hopefully other
That's cool.
conferences. There's a lot of really cool stuff right on the possibility right there. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm. No, totally,
So
totally.
let's see what God does. But as we were talking before the podcast started, it's like I get hesitant to tell people that I'm an older artist because I know the music industry is so focused on the young.
Mm.
And being young and beautiful and uh, sexy and all of these things. And obviously, being sexy is not where you're trying to go with Christian music, but uh, but you still need to attract people who are
Yeah,
going
no,
to
totally.
consume this music, or you can't make a living
Exactly.
at it.
Yeah, no,
You
no,
know?
absolutely. And honestly, I like I was saying before too, I think it's better to mention you're like an older artist, whatever, because then it gives other people hope. Like it's, it's not over till it's over kind of thing, right? Like you never know when your time is going to be, so you can't quit,
No, I mean
you
you can't.
know?
I couldn't quit if I wanted to because
I get
it's
that.
it's it's my soul. It's my life's breath.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I can't. When my relationship with God is so twisted around my desire to worship through music.
Mm.
Um, my passion is to sing it, to teach it, to share it, to move hearts with it. Um, and I've definitely paid my dues. Somebody made I don't have a million followers on my social media. So y'all who are out here hearing this, please go follow, like, you know,
Exactly.
subscribe, all those good things. Um,
Like,
um,
subscribe, whatever it's called, share.
like, subscribe, share, love, download, purchase, stream,
Exactly.
view. All of these important words in our marketing world these days. Um, but uh, but really, listen, can absorb, find hope, find truth, find peace, find joy, find direction. I mean, I am so much more. It is so much more important to me that your heart is moved, that you feel connected, that it touches you. My music, now we're talking about,
Yeah, absolutely.
than whether you think I'm attractive or
No, I totally
no,
hear you. Yeah, yeah. I totally get that.
you know,
Because music really is like that universal language. Like, you could write some kind of melody or sing some kind of melody that even if someone in Bangladesh doesn't understand what you're saying, they're going to be moved by like the melody or moved by like how you're playing either that instrument or singing that song. You know what I mean? Like that's why I love music. Like people
mhm.
can connect to it like regardless of like where they're at.
The
Like,
crazy thing about that is that I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. But then on the flip side of it, I'm very message oriented.
mm-hmm,
It, like one of the songs on my new album, for instance, is called "Someone to Dry Your Eyes," and
mm,
it's a song I wrote inspired by these kids I used to teach from a school where they have all these. Many of them were in the foster system. Many of them had
mm,
experienced a lot of abuse. They had behavioral challenges, and many of them were just so broken.
mm.
And yet, in that school environment, I was not allowed to share Jesus. I was not
Right.
allowed to share what could really heal them. They had so many counselors and psychologists and, heaven forbid, psych drugs and everything else.
Mm,
But, so if I could reach them with just the message that there is someone to dry your eyes, and his
mm,
his name is Jesus, you know,
mm.
and I hope that the songs, the beauty of the song would touch them even without the words, but the words are very important to me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. I was just kind of saying though, just how the music in general terms speaking,
Yes.
like, yeah, people can just like connect with it on this spiritual level, like even if they can't really understand what you're,
Hmm.
saying or whatever, and they can still be like moved to honestly, they could be moved to cry, to dance or whatever. I mean, even without, like I said, even without understanding words, that's just how powerful music really is weird. Like, because honestly, here's something that people, a lot of people, almost like, I don't want to say they want to stop being my friend when I tell them this, but I'm like, I honestly never pay attention to the actual lyrics ever. I don't even I
Oh,
I I'm dead I'm so serious. In my head when I hear singing, like when I'm listening to a song, whatever, when I hear the singing, I can't explain it. Even if I want to know what's being sung or said, for whatever reason, I have such a hard time hearing what people are saying, but all I can hear is like how they're doing it, like how they're saying it,
hmm.
and the melody behind it. Between those two things, I almost don't even need to know what you're saying because I already do.
Hmm.
Like that's why I don't I most I don't want to say I can't hear the but like again my brain processes that stuff, and even if I'm focusing on like I want to hear what they're saying, I just can't. I can pick up words here and there, but I cannot just nine out of 10 people could just sit down and hear all the lyrics. I just can't. And all I can hear is how they're singing it and the notes they're using to do it to convey what they're saying. Like so I tell everyone, like, even though I don't know what they're saying, I do. Like I get what they're putting across just by the notes that they're choosing and how they're choosing to sing those notes.
Hmm.
So that's what I listen to.
So
So,
I
but again, that's what I mean by like how people can connect to it without even knowing what you're saying, because I do it all the time, you know?
hmm. Yeah, I guess.
So, like I even if someone doesn't know what you're saying, like lyrically through your vocals, I'm saying I think they can still know because I believe I do without knowing like lyrics of, any of the songs I listen to.
Well,
So,
I was just thinking.
and I'm trying not to downplay lyrics of words because they are important. That like for some other people, that's all they can hear. That's all they listen to, and the music is just like an accompaniment of what is trying to be said through the lyrics. So I totally get that. There's other people that need to hear the words, or all they listen to are the words. So I get that. You know.
Well, I'm kind of a weird combination because I came out of the folk tradition. That's where I started as a singer, folk songer. Hello, singer, songwriter, folk singer. Yes, a folk
There you
songer. But
go.
as that's where I started. But then I kind of moved from there into jazz, which is totally not about lyrics.
Right,
Um,
right.
it's you know, I was jazzing, and so I mean, I get both sides of that coin for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I was thinking about the song I just brought up from the album, "Someone to Dry Your Eyes, Fill Your Soul with Faith." If I went, ooh, ooh, you'd still feel the,
Absolutely.
you know,
And
uh,
if you know the
cry.
title of the song, if you know the title of the song and the music, I always believe, again, here's me as a musician. Here's why I put the way I approach songs and I listen to them. Like, you have a title of the song, and that title of the song came most likely from, the creation of that song. So the music already is going to kind of fit the idea behind the title of the song. So you already kind of know the direction this song's going to go in, right? So like back to your song. So even if you just kind of sang the melody without the words, 100% I believe people would know what's going on in that song, like without even hearing a word. They would
Right.
they would be brought to it just from the melodic choices that you chose to sing, and
Hmm.
and the way you chose to express those notes when you were singing. Like, there's a lot going on with all of that to me. And like when you have the title of the song, you have the music that's accompanying the mood of the title of the song. So that's why I feel like the messages can get across almost without even saying anything, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
It's like a do do do, a da 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 had about that much going on in it too, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Some of those things you become hits and you go, how in the world? Yeah, all right.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear that.
Yeah.
So like with your guitar playing, what
Mhm.
like what kind of guitar do you play, and do you know what do you like to play? If you did you ever just kind of pick up a guitar and fill it around like at home or whatever? Like,
Um, and yes, I do pick up my guitar and fool around, and that's part of where a lot of songs have come from. Although, to be
mm.
honest, more songs have come from me just having some kind of a being moved by something, and
Okay,
because I tend to start with the lyrics for me, that's part of why lyrics are so important.
I
Um,
get that. Yeah.
but sometimes I mean, a lot of times the lyric and the melody come at the same time, and then I add the guitar. Occasionally, I start with something on the guitar, and then I create to that. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's worked both ways, but more often the other way. But about your previous answer there, I my favorite guitar that I have right now is my Taylor 914.
Nice. Nice.
It's a wonderful guitar. It sounds just as beautiful when you plug it in as it does when you're playing it acoustically, which is
That's cool.
something I really appreciate. Um, but just a fun little story. When I was in sixth grade, uh, I actually graduated from elementary school in sixth grade. They didn't have like they were broken up differently than they are now, but as far as the grades. But anyway, so sixth grade, for our graduation, we had a campfire. It was a very small group, and we had a campfire, and they handed out certificates. And along with our certificates were these sort of gag prizes, and they gave to me. I wish I could find the certificate. They said I would be receiving a mother of pearl guitar for the Julie Hour at 8. And then years later, when I bought this, I named her Lily Rose, my Taylor guitar. I bought her down in Nashville, and uh, she's got these beautiful lilies and roses inlaid with mother of pearl
That's cool.
in her fretboard, and then it's got mother of pearl around the sound hole, and it's got rosewood and different things. And I said that the prophecy has been fulfilled because I then used that guitar on a TV show, and it wasn't the Julia, but it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
Julie was being featured that hour, whatever. But it's like my mother of pearl guitar for the Julie hour. The prophecy
That's
has been.
funny. That's funny. Um, so like, what are you currently like working on? I mean, it sounds like you're working on albums basically. You got like a lot of music going down then, like currently right now, then, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like I said, I'm really excited about this album. I'm doing a lot of songwriting for this album. A few of the songs that are on it were things that we were going to try to produce in 2019. But like there's a song Masterpiece, another song Jesus Since the Day. But then I've written a bunch of new songs for this album. We Choose Life. Is one of the really fun ones. Another one, You Care for Me. Another one, What Being Christian Means, which is kind of fun and sassy, and yet it's all about how awesome it is to be in God. And so yeah, so I've been writing a lot of songs. I mean, there's still a little bit of a jazzy twist to things because that's who I am. Like I said, I love to scat.
Yeah.
Um, and I also do this crazy thing called a vocal. I call it my trumpet. And the same wonderful woman I mentioned who connected me to Neil Merrick Blackwood, her name Rebecca Harold.
Mm.
She wrote this song called "It Ain't Right," and it was this kind of bluesy, down, song about justice. It ain't right, it just ain't right, And we sang it.
Mm.
And we were in that acapella group I mentioned earlier that we put out a CD, Faith in Action, and we did that song. And one day we were doing a concert, and usually I took a scat solo in the middle of it, and we were messing around in rehearsal. It was kind of a reggae thing, and I started pretending I was a trumpet.
Oh my goodness, that is ridiculous.
You know, and
That's wicked funny. That's
and,
crazy.
and we were laughing, and we were like, "Oh, you should just throw that on the gig and see what happens, right?" So I did. We were playing a show, and uh, I threw the trumpet in the center, and people just went nuts. They loved it. And
Totally.
people started asking for the trumpet song on our shows. And I felt so bad because Rebecca's song, It Ain't Right, was this like,
Right. Right. It's like this hit or whatever. And they're like, give us the trumpet song.
and it became the trumpet song. I just felt so bad. So I said, I've got to write something of my own with this trumpet so that, I don't keep stealing,
Right.
stealing from Rebecca. And so it was shortly after that that I wrote the coffee song, which,
Oh, okay. Yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
yeah, which is a love song actually. I had written, um, I had written for my husband before we started dating, and it kind of blew everything out of the water because it talked about us falling in love. Um, but nonetheless, I wrote and I threw the trumpet in there, and that song it's just a love song. It's just a fun little love song. It's not a worship song or anything, but that's the one that then got a lot of attention with my international promoter and got on the charts in Austria. Um, and that's on the Grace with Jazz on Top album.
That's
But
awesome.
so I still have to, make sure I've got some trumpet. I don't think there was any trumpet in the Let My Light Shine album. Oh, that's not a good thing. Got to have some trumpet.
Gotta have the trumpet.
So
That is so cool.
actually in the same song I mentioned, I keep mentioning Someone to Dry Your Eyes, but there is a muted trumpet in the center. There's a bass solo and a muted trumpet solo. Um,
Okay.
uh, which is just like moaning,
Mm, mm,
feeling the agony.
mm.
Um, but yeah, so that's obviously one of the ones that's for listening as opposed to something I ever expect a congregation to sing. But you know, they'll be doing "You Care for Me," and "Follow
Hmm.
the Lord." They'll be doing some other things which are a lot more accessible to the group. Um, but yeah, so the trumpet, it's my
Man.
thing, my little thing. I got a few little things, the hook.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
hear.
that's always a challenge as a musician is when to do things that are not commercial,
Mm.
uh, because they're unique to you, and when to stay to the straight and commercial narrow because you need to get a wider audience. And that actually came up on one of the other songs on the album, um, "What Christian Means to Me," um, which is it's a really fun song. And when I wrote it, I said, okay, so this one's not a congregational song. Um, but then when we were in the studio recording it, I did a scat solo, not a trumpet solo, just a scat solo in it, and then we brought a saxophone player in to play some stuff, and my producer was like, well, it's you should probably just do the trumpet solo, not the excuse me, the saxophone should just take that because that's more, more commercial,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then I was kind of like, but there's nothing on this album where I'm scatting, and that's something that I do that people associate with me as an
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
And there has to be something on here where I do this, And I guess there was a little something with the trumpet on the other one song, um, so what we ended up doing was something where me and the sax player are trading, and um, it does definitely take it a little bit out of the pop and into the jazz, but uh, it's just musically it's so fun. It's just so fun, and I hope when you hear it you're going to love it, um, because just the joy is just popping, and
Well, I guess at the end of the day, isn't that what creativity and kind of doing your creative thing should be all about, right? Is having fun. Because like it loses if you turn your creative thing into like, oh, I need to make money with my creative thing. I don't want to say it like loses, it's whatever, but I mean, you still have to remember at the end of the day, it's like you're doing this at the end of the day. I feel like if you're a creative person doing a creative thing, first and foremost, you should be doing it for kind of like you, because it's beneficial. It's beneficial for you yourself as a person to create something to get it out of you. Because I feel like there are some people in the world, maybe many people in the world, that are frustrated, whatever, mad at the world, angry at the world, fill in the blank with whatever in a kind of negative connotation. And I think a lot of that can be boiled down to we all have a creative inkling in us, regardless of what it is. And if you're not tapping into that thing, I don't think you're like a fulfilled person. So
Mhm.
that's why I believe people need to just create and do what's inside of them because they need to scratch that itch and give them a sense of like at least I don't feel because that's why the podcast is called Embrace Your Storm. Like there's this storm brewing up inside of everyone. We have trials, tribulations, we go through traumatic events, all this stuff. So we have all this brewing up inside of us. So I want people to find their creative outlet and then channel that storm through the creative outlet. So like that's why you want to make sure you're having fun still and not get lost in the into oh I need to make money or oh this isn't going to sell enough or oh you know what I mean, because you never know who you're going to connect with the creative thing that you put out there. And I think part of creativity is to connect with people, so that's why you have to be like true to yourself, not necessarily worry about like I mean we all need to worry about money, but like try not to let that be the deciding factor in your creative outlet, because you might miss touching someone if you don't really put out what's truly in you.
I like that. I like that a lot. And actually, I want to just circle back to what you were saying about the podcast and where that came out of,
Mm,
Jonathan.
mm,
Because, uh, well, first of all, before I forget, my one of the songs that my husband released recently is called "Fighting Through the Storms,"
mm.
and I sing on it. In fact, I co-wrote the lyrics with him. But it's stylistically so different than what I'm doing on this other album that we're sort of calling it two separate projects. Like we're calling that hit, but I'm still singing on it. Um,
Yeah.
but who knows? Maybe you'd want to use it for bumper music. It might fit what you're doing really well. Um, but I've definitely had some big storms um, on on my journey,
Mm,
and
mm.
you know, and that's why I feel like maybe things are breaking through now and maybe didn't at an earlier time because the timing wasn't right.
I hear
Um,
you.
as much as I would have liked it to be. I keep having to learn this lesson over and over again. Trust in God. Yes, he knows best. Okay. Um, but like for instance, um, I didn't come to faith until my late 20s.
Mm,
And I was, as I mentioned earlier, just going after my music career with, full steam ahead. And uh, I was in a band, I led a band called Centerpiece, which was gigging like 5 or 6 nights a week. I was hungry. I
mm,
was
mm-hmm.
aggressive. I found work, even if it paid a penny. I found work, you know, and so we worked and we played, and but I didn't know when to stop. I didn't know when to rest, and
Mm.
I burned the candle at both ends. I had a day job as a telemarketer at the same time as I was gigging at night, not sleeping much, drinking lots of coffee instead of water, by the way. Sing, vocalists need to drink a lot of water.
Exactly.
The teacher is talking now. Okay. But I did a lot of other things that were not good for me physically. And I'm not talking drugs and alcohol even. I'm just saying that I just pushed the envelope way too
Yeah.
far. For a while, I was bulimic. I was always concerned
Oh,
about being
geez.
skinny, and so I was throwing up, and gives you acid reflux and messes
Yep.
with your
Yep.
esophagus and all this awful stuff. And then I got nodes on my vocal cords,
Oh,
and
man.
I stopped being able to sing. Everything fell apart. My band broke up. I had to cancel all my shows. Thought my career was over. Um, I didn't have any um, training or understanding that led me to know that there was a light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah,
And
no.
and at that time, that was when, and my fiance broke up with me right in the middle of that. Wasn't that
Oh,
lovely?
geez.
Um, yeah,
Jeez.
Nice guy he was, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Talk about kicking you while you're down.
Oh, man. But the only people that seemed to still be in my orbit when I went through this were a few Christian friends of mine, including this guitar player named Jim Peterson, who's actually my colleague now. He's also a professor at Berklee. He's a guitar professor. But he he remained my friend for many years. I went to Berklee when I was an undergraduate in the 80s, and I had met Jim then, and he started inviting me to church, and I was like, "Nah, shut up and play your guitar." But he, but he was so good that I continued to hire him for original shows and stuff. And when everything fell apart, he didn't just disappear like so many
Mm.
of my other friends did, who was like, "You don't have a gig, I'm out of here. I got things to do. I got to go find work somewhere else." But in fact, he even started to study the Bible with my ex-fiance, who changed so much. My gosh, he started apologizing to me about stuff, and I was
Oh
so
wow.
blown away. And he said, "Oh, Jesus died for me, and I can't treat you like this anymore." And I was like, "What?" And so, so it was during that time that I started to look deeper into the scriptures, and took me a while, took me a bunch of months, but decided that I wanted to follow Jesus, and came to a faith and was baptized, and then. Crazy thing, my voice actually healed with a little bit of vocal therapy, but without surgery, enough so that I could start singing again,
Hmm.
and started singing, started worship leading, and started singing in Christian bands. And I was still doing, GB gigs. In fact, I still do general business shows. I do birthday parties, I do weddings, I do,
Mm.
you know, I'll do that. I do that stuff on the side, um, but but everything had changed at that point. Um, but it was even 10 years after that that when I started teaching at an elementary school, that I lost my voice again. And that time is when I really learned my lesson and learned, okay, you can't just kill yourself and expect your voice
Mm.
to
Mm.
behave, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, that's very true.
and that time I ended up getting surgery, getting node surgery, and in 2001, and learned so much about vocal health. Um, Hello, we've got company. Um, but anyway, I learned so much during that whole thing, that's very central to my teaching, whether it's to worship leaders or anybody learning voice. Just how to, I mean, golly, God gave us Sabbath for a reason. And I'm
Mm.
not talking about a day, I'm just talking about
Rest.
realizing that we need to rest. And when our
Mm.
body is just done, or our voice is done, we need to rest it. And we think we just have to keep going, 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 going. And you know, anyway, that was a huge lesson along the way.
Hey,
And
Julie, I'd hate to cut you off, but we're gonna have to wrap things up here.
oh my
Kind of
gosh.
rounding, we're kind of rounding third base, but like, is there?
Mm,
I love what you just said though about giving your body the rest and stuff because a few interview or no, it's not the interview isn't out yet. It will be. But I spoke to another vocalist, kind of teacher guy, and he was saying those very same things. He's like, singing is the only thing where it's like you need to take care of your instrument. Like you are the instrument, you
yes,
know?
yes.
So like you got, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. That's like things I, didn't consider before, So it was really cool that you were kind of mentioning those things. But is there anything you would say to like someone wanting to start singing, someone wanting to start playing guitar or whatever, or maybe they are? Do you have any kind of words of encouragement or anything you wanna give to the audience?
Wow, there's so many things I could say, but um, I think, if as far as singing, um, sing from your heart. It's the connection between you and whoever you're singing for,
Mm,
which is most important. And then find yourself a good teacher, because there's probably so much you don't know about what your voice can do
Yeah. Yeah.
You may be, some people have this idea that, oh, I'm already talented, I don't need a teacher. That's not the point at all. That what a teacher can do for you is to help you to get more tools to be able to do more with the talent you have,
Exactly.
and to do it in a way that's not going to hurt your voice.
Exactly.
So you can have longevity in your singing and your career and whatever you decide to do with it.
Yeah.
And remember that it's a gift. And you want
That's
you
true
and
too.
you want to be a good steward of that gift. You want to take
Hmm.
care of it,
That's very true.
and nurture it. Allow yourself to do things that inspire you. Um, I mean, I love mountains. I get very inspired by the beauty of creation. And when I was in Black Mountain, I was staying at a cabin with a mountain view. And that was just like paradise for me. And then I'd go in the studio, and then I'd go back to my little bitty cabin, and
Hmm.
it was so nourishing for my soul. Do
Hmm.
things that nourish your soul.
Absolutely. Well, Julie, again, you were awesome having on. I feel like we could have probably talked for a few more hours, but unfortunately, I have to cut us off here. But maybe we can have you back on some other time to kind of go into more about vocal stuff, or like train, things like
Yeah, sure.
vocalists can do to train themselves and prepare. But yeah, again, I thank you so much for your time, for coming on. It's really appreciated. You definitely had a lot of words of encouragement throughout this episode, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. And can I encourage you all out there in listening land to go to my website, which
Yeah.
is julieksings.com.
Julie K
Julie
sings.
K Sings at .com. And you'll find links to everything else that is Julie, including my book and my shows and everything else. Coming up in the fall, I'll be leading a concert at Berklee on
That's cool.
October. Let me find it really quickly. Where is it? On phone? Why are you not moving? It's not. That's weird. You know how sometimes like your finger doesn't have any electrons? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What the heck is going on with that? Okay, October 17th. Yeah.
Okay.
October 17th, I'm leading a faculty concert, but I'll be singing on it at Berklee College of Music in Boston, 1140 Boylston Street, at 7 p.m. I've got a lot of other little things coming up before that, which you can check out. I'll be probably singing at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. Also, I think it's Sunday, the 13th of October. I think that's going to be a big week. Which is it'll be a huge church service at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium with a couple thousand people.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be singing at that. Keep it in your prayers that things are going to work out for Soul Fest, but that won't be till next year. But yeah, a lot of different
Awesome.
things coming up, leading
Absolutely.
leading vocal workshops, different things. So
Awesome.
you can join my mailing list if you go to that. Go to that website.
JulieKSings.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Again, Julie, I thank you so much for your time and coming on and sharing your story with the audience.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's my
And
pleasure.
anybody out there also is a worship leader and you'd like to have me come do a workshop for your church, also please let me know.
There you go. Everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And don't forget to embrace your storm. See ya.